All right, hello and welcome back. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and we are here as part of the Rankin Technical College Summer Academy Adventure Series, and I'm doing website design. We previously went and created a very simple website. I don't know if I've even got it available, but it's here someplace. So what we just finished creating was the website that you see right here. Again, it was done very simplistically. There's not a lot to it. It's got 3 pages, etc. What I'm going to do now is start to build a website using a product called Bootstrap. And this website will have 2 pages, even though it looks like 3. This contact form will just come up inline right here. We will have a very simple about page, which just has 3 different slides running on it, and we'll have a home page where we'll do most of the work. You'll notice that when we highlight our different image files that they get bigger. So this is something that you'll see. And one of the things that I wondered about when I did this was, should I go over Bootstrap 3, which is the current version of Bootstrap that's being used. In fact, it's version 3.3.7 available at getbootstrap.com, or should I go into Bootstrap 4, which is still in what's called alpha mode, which means that it has not yet been released. One thing about Bootstrap historically is there's not always a lot of compatibility between different versions. So it's not like with a lot of other products where you go to another version and you can just take your old product and boom, everything works. All right. One thing I will tell you is whether you go with 3 or 4, Bootstrap has fantastic documentation. So if I'm right here and I start to take a look at what's here, it doesn't look like there's much. But if I go over to the Getting Started, what you'll notice is that over here, it might not look like much, but there's all sorts of information available. And then I can go over and look at CSS, which has got a bunch of stuff, components, which has got a bunch of stuff, JavaScript, if I want to add a tie-in to JavaScript, I'm able to customize, etc. And getting started is a great place to start. Now with Bootstrap 4, it's continued. Here's documentation. So you'll notice there's a quick start, there's a getting started. Here's the layout, the components, a lot of the same stuff that you previously saw. So I made the decision, be it good, bad, indifferent, right or wrong, that I was going to stick with Bootstrap 3. All right? Now, when you go with Bootstrap 3, there's different ways that you can set up Bootstrap. Okay? And the main ways that you can do it is you can download Bootstrap. You can download the actual source code, which, as it says, requires a less compiler and some setup, so that's too much work. You can port it from less to Sass, and I don't really want to go over what less and Sass are. So I went over to the download Bootstrap, clicked on that button, and you'll notice that I got this. All right, it gave me this folder right here, so I'm going to grab that folder. I'm starting from literally brand new. All right, so this is what I worked on previously. Let's paste this in. And there's Bootstrap dist. So I'm going to extract that right here. In fact, because I know I'm going to forget to do it, I want to just do one thing. So if you'll indulge me for a minute. Just so I don't forget to do this. That is, I want to grab all that, copy it to the clipboard. All right, so there's my standard website, the same one that we just looked at. It's all there. Good. All right, so why did I do that? Just so it's out of the way, if nothing else. Now I'm grabbing this Bootstrap dist, and I'm going to add a new folder that's just called Bootstrap. And and I'm going to add to this folder from here everything I need. All right, for now I'm going to add all of these folders right here, but I don't really need everything that's in there. So there's Bootstrap, paste that in, there's the folders. I am going to add, because later I'll need it, I am going to add an images folder right there. Okay, so I've got a CSS folder, and you'll notice that there are a lot of files in it. Bootstrap CSS map, Bootstrap min CSS, etc. And I'm going to highlight every file in here but one. Because when you're first starting, the only one you really need is this bootstrap.min.css file. So I'm getting rid of the rest of them. And I'm also going to go and do a new, I'll just do it right here. I'm going to grab and create a new file right here. File, save as. I'm going to save that to my desktop. There's Bootstrap. There's CSS, and I'm just going to call this style.css. And what that means is I'm going to put my own stuff in there. All right, so there's my style. All right, next I'm going to go over here to fonts, and these are the glyphicons that you need to work with Bootstrap. Now, one of the ways that Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 4 have changed is that Bootstrap 4 no longer requires these files. But since I'm using Bootstrap 3, I'm going to just keep them there. My images file I said was empty. My JS, what do I need here? I need bootstrap.min.js. And that's all I need from here. The last thing that I want to do in here is I want to go in and out to the internet again and go to jquery.com, and I want to find this download jQuery. This one's fine. Download the compressed version, which is good. Cut that and paste it right here. And I'm just going to call this jQuery.js. All right. So to start with, this is all I have. I've got my CSS folder with my bootstrap.min.css and my style, which is empty because that'll be my own styles. My glyphicons, which we'll talk about in a later lecture. My images, which are empty too. And my JS file, which has got my bootstrap.min.js and bootstrap and jQuery.js. Notice this is a JavaScript file, bootstrap.min.js, where this is a CSS file. They're not the same file. All right. The other thing that I forgot to do was there should have been here under this version, I thought there was going to end up being an index.html file, which I don't see, so I'm going to build one myself. In fact, rather than even building one myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to the Bootstrap documentation and find the basic template that's right here. I'm going to highlight this, copy it to the clipboard, and I'm going to paste it in, not into my style CSS file. So this is going to be my index.html file. Okay. So it says Bootstrap 101 template. All it has in it is this hello world. All right. I am going to clean it up just a tad because I like to do things in a certain way, be they right or wrong. So this all looks okay. And that's actually all the cleanup I want to do. All right. So before I finish up, and I'm already at 10 minutes, but before I finish up, I want to quickly go over all the code that's in this file. Okay? All right. doc type HTML, this is the document type. It lets the system know the type of HTML document we're working with. It does not matter. It's case insensitive. I always type mine in like that, but it doesn't matter which way you do it. All right. Doc type HTML like this means that I'm doing an HTML5 document, which is what I'm doing. HTML is always within beginning HTML and ending HTML tags. So there's my beginning HTML tag, which says I'm using English as my language. Then I've got my head tag. There's my beginning head tag. There's my ending head tag. The head tag holds all of the stuff that does not appear on the screen itself. I've done this before, but I'm going to come in here, make some comments, and this will say set character set to Unicode. All right, that's what this line is doing. I have been told, at least, I've never really investigated this. We'll call this Microsoft Browser Fix. And that's this line. This is set for mobile first display. All right. Then it says the above three meta tags must come first in the head. Any other head contact must come after these tags. Now, again, is that important? No, I'm just mentioning it because it is mentioned in the documentation. That's all. All right. Now, this is part 1, so I'm going to literally just say part 01. And what I'm going to do is when I get done with this, is I'm going to take this file. In fact, I'm going to take the whole folder and save it. All right. So what we have is our doc type tag, our HTML tag saying we're using English in our head section. Right there. Remember, that's all the stuff that does not appear on screen. We're setting our character set. We're doing a Microsoft browser fix. We're saying here, by using viewport, we're saying, by default, make this app use the whole width of whatever I'm running it on, be it a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a phone. And initially, at least, have it show at 100%. All right? Then our title, remember our title is what appears in the tab up here. So if I do run this, it should say Part 01. You're not going to be able to read all that, but notice it'll say right there, Part 01. That's what I want. All right? That's my title. And then we are linking in our actual Bootstrap CSS file. This is the one that the only one I kept in there, remember? And underneath that, I'm going to put here link to Bootstrap CSS file. All right. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to say link to my CSS file. All right. And that one, remember, was called style.css. All right. So I now have the link to my own file in here, which is what I wanted. All right. This, and it confuses a lot of people, this HTML shim and respond. These two things right here say if I'm using a browser that's IE and it's less than IE9, add these. And what these two things add in here is basically it tells the system if there's any tags that you don't understand, just basically view them as simple input tags. Okay? That may or may not make sense. Then we've got our body section, and whoops, and this is all the stuff that does show on screen. You'll notice that right now we've got that hello world tag, and you may or may not have noticed that when we ran this, that's what showed. So that's that hello world tag. Then we've got this, which is adding jQuery, notice as it says, add jQuery necessary for Bootstrap's JavaScript plugins. But you know what? I don't have to do all that stuff because remember, I put it into my own JS file and I called it jQuery.js. All right? And then I have to include Bootstrap's JavaScript file, and that's right here. Okay, so it says include all plugins or include individual files as needed, but I just want to make sure everybody sees this. This file must be included after the jQuery file. Now, is that important? Yeah, it is. All right, just so you know that that's the case. And that's it. There's only one last thing I want to say because this video is already getting too long, and that is if you want to find out some of the differences between Bootstrap 4 and Bootstrap 3, I go out a lot to Traversy Media. Brad Traversy, he's an incredible guy. I'd actually like to write him a fan letter, believe it or not, because he does so much stuff that he puts out there for free. He has paid classes, but many of his classes are also free. So I'm going to add to my list here that YouTube video because that's his what's new in Bootstrap 4. So if you do want to know some of the differences between Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 4, all right, you can find that out. If you want more than I'm giving you, you can type in Brad Traversy and, for example, Bootstrap 3, and what you'll notice, he's got a Bootstrap beginner crash course. That's an hour long. That's very well done. I did go through it. What I didn't notice is he also, if you look here, he's also got a bunch of stuff, I don't see it here, but I know it's there, with Bootstrap 4. There's also, there's actually a free class that you can get from Brad Hussey, and I've gone through this class. All right, if you go out to udemy.com, that's udemy.com, you do have to sign up for a subscription, but it's free. And do they send me stuff? Yeah, but only when they have their courses on sale. But notice if I come in here and I search for courses and I type in Bootstrap 3, for example, let's just say 3. All right, it's going to show me a bunch of different Bootstrap courses that they have. If I go over to price and I choose free, they have 17 different courses that are in there that are free. Now, I've gone through complete Bootstrap 4 course, build 3 projects. I think I went through that one with Ignatius Technologies, but that's free. And I've gone through Brad Hussey's Bootstrap 4 Quick Start. That's free. All right? So just some places where you can get started. All right? That's it for the first version of this. What we're going to do in the next version is we're going to take our simple file that we have that looks like this, all right, and we're going to change it. We're going to get rid of the hello world, and we're going to change it just so it looks like this. Doesn't look like we're adding much, but we're going to build it very incrementally from the top down. So I'll be back with that video lecture very shortly.